Bismillah, welcome to a new episode in which we see how to create global make targets that are usable and extendable while allowing scoping for the make targets. Just a little disclaimer here, what we'll be using is not a replacement for scripting, so the targets that we will be using today are just demo for how to create this structure, but it's not really the final targets, so they're just like very basic script or very basic use case, and I would even recommend to use it with normal scripts, but they are valid to demonstrate how to create these global make targets. So the use case that we have here is installation of binaries like JSONet, Bundler, and Helm. When you install the binary, basically you go to the release and then download the binary and then move it to the user local bin after changing the mode to executable. For Helm or other archived files, you have to unarchive them, uncompress them first, and then move them. And between the Helm and even like K9S releases, you'll see that the directory structure itself would be changing, so you may need to move from different places. So basically you can see that the requirements are increasing over time. Still the same concept or the same pattern is repeated. So we would like to do some reusability here or make it more dry. So the first thing that we want to do is that we want to move it to a global directory to have the make files defined in a global place. Before we start also, the code that we'll have here is all found in the repository. I'll keep the link in the description of the video. So let's define specific directories. For our case, we just decide that it would be in the .config Makefiles. So this would be the global place for the user based. Maybe we can use /etc for system based directory. So just cd into it. Let's see what we have. We have public scoped and we have internal scoped. So public scope Makefiles are the ones that are exposed and will be used anywhere in the system, and the internals are the ones that will be used by the public. So they are sub Makefiles or sub targets. So what we have inside this installers.mk, we can see here that, let's just open it. So the installers.mk has a couple of commands here, or a couple of targets: install JB, install K9S, and install Helm. And these are three action targets, and all what they do is that they request installation of specific binary. So for example, let's move here. So let's try to install Helm. I don't have Helm yet, so make install Helm. You can see that it auto-typed even though I don't have a Makefile here that has the install Helm targets. And if I try to install it, you'll see that the installation goes on for Helm. And the targets here are basically calling all of them, calling the installation script. And the installation, we can of course use a bash script here directly, but just for demonstration, this is how we can include another Makefile target. So first trick or first thing that we need to take into consideration is that the Makefile that we are using now, this is not the one that we having the current directory from. So if we use /internal, so something like that, install tool will be something like that, then this would be actually tool.mk. This would be the directory that we are executing from, and we need first to defer to the correct directory. For that, we're using the Makefile list and getting the last of them, and then getting the directory of it, and then based on that do some relative movement, or even we could use the Makefiles home that's variables, that's a variable, that's a custom variable that we'll be using. And also, so we have here the make file or the main make targets that we'll be exposing. So how is it exposed? How is it basically seen? So it's seen by moving to the, if we just okay, if we just check this script, we see that it's exporting the Makefiles home. This is the ones that I was talking about, and then checking whether it's available or not, the public directory is available or not, and if it's available, we just include all the Makefiles there into the Makefiles environment variable. And if we exported this one, then it will be used for every make target wherever it is located. So we just need to source this script, and it will be accessing the make targets inside the public, of course, with the extensions that we have here. So if we have .temp or .backup or something like that, it will not be used. So this is how we are making it global, and of course how we are scoping it to public. So let's get back here, and as we see, we have 3 targets, and these 3 targets have different ways to use internal targets. So we have basically an internal target that is installing the tool. We'll check into it, how is it running in the background, but it just have 2 targets here: install archive tool and install tool. And these targets, we can use them in different ways. So the first way is basically to send all the variables to it, something like the tool name, helm, tool version, binary, and temp, and URL. This is basically the things that we want to send, but we can see that the tool bin and tool temp, these are basically pre-known rules. So it's just /user /local /bin / the name of the tool, and the tool temp is /temp / the name of the tool and then tool version. So we can safely omit that. So how do we do it? So basically we can see in the K9S it's omitted. How do we do that? We have to go to the internal, the make target that we are calling, and check the files there, and then define the variables there. So the tool bin and tool temp is defined to be something like that, which we can of course overwrite, but it's initially, or its default value is like that. And that way we can get rid of the tool bin and tool temp because they are repeated, and what we are left with is basically also the tool version, name, and URL. What we can optimize to is that the default value can be captured from the variable name that is fixed, so we don't have to make a new variable for every target. So here you can see default helm version, here would be default K9S, here would be default JB. But if we want just to minimize the changes so that we have less space to make errors, so we can use default version, and then to avoid having multiple values for the default version. So it's basically we can set it here inside the install K9S and install GB. Of course we can set the value here directly, but it would be like very easy to mess if it's just hidden in the code. That's for the second, for this optimization. And we can even optimize it more, but it would reach the point that it's getting cryptic by using a block, script block. And this script block, or this defined script block, is basically removing the tool name, tool version, tool URL from this place. So it's only one line instead of like having multiple lines, and I would say it's more cryptic, and I wouldn't really be in favor of that, even though it's usable. You can see here that we are using the file of the install tool, and we are using the make target that is being used internally to execute the installation. So let's jump into the internal, and here we can see that we have two targets. One of them is to install without uncompressing, and the other one is to install with uncompressing. So initially started with this, and you can see that it would be okay if we have like a couple of lines for a script, but when it increases and there is a control flow and there is like the complexity of the code is increasing, the usage of script directly inside the Makefile would be hard to maintain, because of its syntax is like modified somehow with slashes at the end with double dollar signs. So it's not really, I wouldn't really be in favor of doing that. And a better way is basically to use scripts whenever needed for control flow. So if you have like very large control flow, I would just go with using scripts directly or other language, not just Makefile. And here you can see that I'm using the install binary, and I'm referring to the install binary in the same directory that we have here. And this is a script, and you can see here it's growing more than just like 10 lines of code, just getting more and more and more. And now it's defined as a bash function, and I'm just calling it and executing it directly from the internal script here. So the idea is that whenever we have necessity to use a script, yeah, we can use it. And I would actually be in favor of using scripts over using Makefiles. But if we have Makefiles and we want to make them reusable, or basically split them and have them defined globally, I would go with structure like that. So this is how to structure your Makefiles into global Makefiles, and how to reuse different Makefile targets. I hope you found this video useful, and see you in the next episode.